In just 60 minutes, we generated over $1.3 million. Do you have a mission that you're on, and have you ever wanted to see and just be around the tribe of people who want to work with you? What if I told you that there's actually a bunch of people who want to pay you for what you do? We just hosted an event called Salesgirl Summit, and in just 60 minutes, we generated over $1.3 million. And that is the power of what we're going to share with you, how to host an event, how to bring your tribe together, and honestly give them an experience that makes them feel like home and wants them to take the next step in that. So we are going to share our experience creating this event and hopefully give you a ton of insight into how you can translate this into what you do for your sales environments, for the people who want to buy from you and love you already.
Yeah, so good. And you know, people love to put on events. They love the idea of it, but it's pretty pricey to be able to do that. And so most people don't do it because it's pricey, but they don't do it because they don't know how to make money in the event to make it worth it. But what's cool about Salesgirl Summit, we got some girls in the room who went to Salesgirl Summit right now, is we got so much feedback of, hey, I was transformed. I was transformed within the event. And so whether someone ended up buying or not buying, whether someone ended up deciding to take the next step or not, they still were transformed. And so many people think, oh, if I sell, I sacrifice the experience. But actually, when you do it well and do it the Salesgirl way, selling is what makes the experience so incredibly transformative. And we orchestrated this in a very specific Salesgirl way to create a buying environment, a transformative environment, and an event that people want to come back to. Even if they know that there's something will be sold, they still desire to come back with knowing that they're going to be transformed.
Yeah, so when we talk about our entrance into entrepreneurship, I know mine was in network marketing, yours was too.
Yep.
The first piece of advice people gave was host an event. Is it the same in real estate? Like host people, host people, host people, host people. And in general, I'm like nervous to host. I'm like, okay, are they going to be bored? Is it going to be good enough? Is the food good? Is there enough food? Like there's all these questions that you can't tell the future. So you kind of have to be a good planner. You got to be expectant. You have to sometimes you even feel like, well, I have to be a natural host to create this experience. And I don't feel like that's me, especially back in the business. What if no one comes? Holy cow. Like, no. So it's just crazy being transported like all these years later into post summit and how great it was.
And you are a host now. Now you do.
Yes, that is my identity. Exactly. So should we start just reading the questions?
Yeah, we got some questions. Some people that came, they're like, I have to know the nitty gritty. And so this is the framing of the debrief of the event itself.
And so this is us being the ultimate girl's girl. Okay. Yeah. This is like up in there. I don't know
no gatekeeping.
No gatekeeping. No. This is the real answers to the real questions that the sales girls had, and you feel free to share yours.
Okay, so I'll ask you this question: how did you choose the speakers, and how did you prep them?
Oh, I'll answer that. Yeah, perfect. So we knew. Well, originally this was going to be a 2-day event, and our coach Myron said, "The more I think about your model for this event, the more I hate it." And that was because there wasn't enough time for people to go through the journey that they needed to go through to transform. Yeah. And so we extended it to 2.5 days, almost 3. And we started to plug in speakers for, okay, well, if they're going to experience this ultimate transformation, what are the mile markers? And we'll get into this more, but we chose our speakers based on what are their strengths, what message can they translate to the audience. And I guess I can give all examples. If you watched Katie Barberi come on, she is a brick and mortar Pilates studio owner, and she went door to door in her little town in Pennsylvania selling Persuade for Good books. And she has a mission to like save her little town. And she does that by being a sales girl for her own shop and the rest of them there. She like wants them to all become sales girls so that this town has energy and enthusiasm in life. And I said, holy cow, she has got to demonstrate that persuasion is a superpower because she's enlightening and empowering all these other men and women in their town. Okay, so that's Katie. Charla Korn Barrett, hello. She taught on charisma, and we really wanted her to drive home that when you connect with someone, it actually gives you so much fuel and ammunition to demonstrate warmth with your competence. Because so often people can be very knowledgeable, but really lack that human connection piece.
Yep.
And she's really, she was always very good at being like attention getting and wow, it's Charla. And when she really started to embrace connection, that warmth clicked and her sales went up. And so her being able to demonstrate that was really good. Megan Hansen, she is the formerly known as the Nutrition Addiction, and she sells how to like basically have a proper balance on your plate of protein, healthy fat, and fiber. And somehow she made it this movement of making your metabolism like on fire, and you look your best and you feel your best, and you're just like this hot mom persona. It's like, how did you do that? And so we want her to talk about how you can actually make your payoff incredibly desirable, even if what you have to do to get there is kind of boring and like, well, 1 + 1 is 2. That's pretty boring, but she makes it 1 + 1 = 100.
Yep.
And who's the last? Oh,
Ashley Brock.
Ashley Brock, of course. So Ashley Brock is one of our clients. They've all gone through our program too, which was a really cool demonstration of how they present, how they sell a message. Ashley Brock is our current client, and her being able to show how the marketing message gets its roots in sales connection, sales messaging, and it like the way that your ads can convert, the way that everything really can be leveraged to the masses when your sales is locked up. She's been such a cool testament to that.
Yeah. But it was a perfect combination of past students or current students that paint a picture of the bright, beautiful future that is possible for you. That was huge. And someone asked, how did you prepare them?
Yep.
And Kat said, this is the belief I want you to sell.
Yep.
So why does that make you transformative? Because when you start to believe something different, something you start to feel new emotion, you start to see possibilities, you start to see a new future for yourself, and that's what creates a transformative experience. Selling beliefs. And they knew how to sell a belief, so we made sure like when we say sell this belief, they know exactly what that means because they've gone through a program.
We did not say teach them A, B, and C. If you want to teach A, B, and C, that's fine. Make sure that the whole entire purpose is that they walk away transformed from the inside out.
Yeah.
And that's because of their thoughts and beliefs.
Do y'all ever think that if I educate people, they will learn a lot and like me more? Have y'all thought of that before?
I have.
I know I have too. Let me just educate you. 100% snooze fest. Snooze fest. So you think you're teaching them and they're learning, but they're not transformed. Do you see how that's totally different? So beliefs all day long, not educational. And then also, how you prepared them. So you actually watched their speech and you gave them little tweaks and I think your tweaks were absolutely critical for the overall mission of Salesgirl Summit. And I know you were like really glad that you did that.
Yeah, we had them actually send their rep in 1 month before Summit. So it gave them the deadline of, hey, you can procrastinate up till a month early.
Yeah.
And then we're on, right? So it was me watching it, then giving them the feedback to make that iteration that the belief was even stronger. I would say things like, hey, you started telling the story about that client. I don't think I ever got the finish, or like I'm distracted by how curious I am about that story. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like that drove home the point. So giving your speakers feedback on their stuff and not it just being like a surprise the day that they show up and speak for you. I highly recommend that.
Yeah, huge. Okay, how many tickets were sold? And how many coaching spots were sold? And how much did you spend? And how much was the payoff? So this is kind of all one thing. So I started a series on Instagram. It was day blank of hopefully selling 500 tickets to our very first Salesgirl Summit happening June 12th through the 14th in Alpharetta, Georgia. And I will say we have filled events in here. We've filled larger events. We filled, and I've done a lot of things, a lot of challenging things in my life. You've done a lot of challenging things in your life. I don't want to speak for you, but for me personally, the hardest thing that I've ever done is filled a room.
Well,
Would you agree
it's
with that?
traumatizing, and the reason I say that is because people know if they're there or not.
Yeah, it's challenging.
It's not, yeah.
But even virtual rooms, like that is still like in all the rooms that we're in, that is like the thing people are solving is how do I fill a room?
Yep.
It is super challenging, and that is why you should do it. By the way, that is the very reason you should do it, because when you figure that out, honey, everything is easy from lead flow and filling a room. So the goal was 500. The most I think we'd ever filled is a 300 person room.
Yeah.
But even then, I think it was free or very inexpensive. So our goal was to fill 500 seats, and our lowest ticket was $500, and our highest was $2,000. And we got 190 seats. And I really had to like coach myself, and I know I called you quite a bit because I'm like, okay, the math has to math. Like, this has to make sense, okay? Because, and not to mention, we bought and planned Hello Positive Self-Expectancy that we talked about, and it was 500. Like, there ain't, or we gonna die trying, you know?
Yeah.
So we planned and bought for 500. We planned the venue for 500. We planned the food for 500. We planned the snacks for 500. Like, we planned for 500, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is a lot of people that's not there. There's a lot of people that's there. I'm really thankful for that. $500 a seat is like not easy to sell. People are flying from all over. And actually, I think about 80 of those were already our clients too. So I'm like, oh, that's even another like element here. And one of the things that we tell our students, and Kat and I talk about a lot, is like, you have got to respect your room. What does that mean? Respect the people that are in your room, and be so daggum thankful that they are sitting there listening to you. Like the fact that you are here right now, I'm praising the Lord. Like, I'm so thankful for people that are willing to spend time and sit here and listen to what I have to say. I don't take it for granted for a second. And so that, once the seats were closed, it was about to be day one. That was like what I was like telling myself. I'm like, respect this room. I'm so thankful. I'm so fired up. I can't believe that they're here. Like, let's go. I'm about to give them my all. So about 80 were there. I want to talk about ticket selling, and then why we set the price for $500, because 500 is not really a common amount for an event. Most people, from what I hear, they're like, whatever to fill the room. Like, we'll do discounts. Bring a friend, like, for free. Just get the room full, get the room full, get the room full. And trust me, we wanted the room full as well. And we did fill the room. We got the tables, and it felt really amazing. But there is an energy when people are there because it's cheap.
That's when the head nods in here.
There's an energy there. And when you're creating a sales event and you want people to want to buy and create a buying environment, you want people who already love and know how to buy there. Does that make sense?
And so what that really means is that even if you have a webinar, a challenge, or an opt-in, you're creating buyers, not curious people. So they're serious, not curious about you, whether they just come to your event and they never buy another thing from you. At least you created a buyer where it was that pure exchange of, I'm going to deliver you a service, and you know, we're exchanging that.
Yeah. And ultimately it was like, okay, we know who they're going to become out of this, and it's worth, no question, it's worth that. And so when we actually decided last minute to do virtual, which this is on the list of what we will never do again, that's for sure. But we actually kept it at $500, the same price. And it's so crazy how there was a group of people who were like, I'm so thankful that this is even an option. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Then there was another group of people that were like, hey, it's still $500. Lunch isn't included for me. Or I'm not going to like get a gift bag, or I'm not like, why is it still $500? And I was like, in my head, I was like, well, yes, that's actually the point, because this is priced based on who you become, not what you get. This is priced on who you become. The price isn't about lunch. The price isn't about the price is about who you're about to become out of this, and that is exactly why it's priced that. And so pricing virtual the same was actually a demonstration of like the value of the event, that you're not paying for lunch, you're paying for the absolute transformative experience that you're about to get.
Yeah, and Ashley Brock, who was one of our speakers, she held an event in January, and her I think it was before the event even started, or like in the middle of it, she's like, hey, just so y'all know, I did a virtual ticket. price it the same as at least your lowest ticket option, because she noticed that by discounting hers or whatever, we think, oh, of course it should be cheaper.
Yeah.
It's the internet. It's basically free. And she said it incentivized them not to come.
Yeah.
And for that to be her biggest takeaway of such a huge event she put on, I know that was when I decided, like, it has to be.
There's no question.
And turns out there's a ton of underlying principles for that being a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Even if it rubs up against, like, what most people don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Coaching spots that were sold, there was 35 sold total, ranging from the price of $20,000. There was a $50,000, and then there was a $125,000. And within the hour, we had a lunch break where people could buy, and it was 1.2, 1.3 within an hour, which was in the past what we've done in an entire year in a single hour. And that was pretty wild to have that experience. And someone asked about the investment versus the payoff. So it cost us $200,000 to put that event on. And that was paying for 500 people. Now, the ticket sales in itself, I think, was about 130,000. So the way I think about it is, like, ideally, if we could profit from the tickets already, that would be ideal. But if we could break even, that is for sure the goal. But we didn't quite break even, and I'm totally okay with that. But I will tell you, my husband went, he's kind of in and out, and we were, someone was like, what did you do after Salesgirl Summit? Like, how'd you celebrate? I said, I picked up my kids and we went to tennis practice. Like, like we didn't do nothing, but we were kind of like doing bath time. It was the night after. And he was like, even if y'all didn't make a single sale, it was worth it. And he's our CFO. Okay.
Oh, yeah. He
so
cares.
that says a lot and he's in risk management. He's always watching the money. And so for him to say, and he was like, girls, I'm watching that credit card be swiping. Y'all need to chill out a little bit. So he was watching the swiping. He's watching what's going on. He said, if you didn't make a single sale, it was worth it. I'm like, why are you saying that? You didn't even know what we did. You weren't even really a part of it. He's like, I saw the brand come alive. I saw the brand, I saw the girls, I saw the identity, I saw the tribe. And what I actually saw, I agree with him completely. But can I tell you what blew my mind the most out of, like, why I'm so glad we did this? It was the current clients that we already had that initially I was like, oh, we have so many current clients. I was like kind of bummed about it at first. That was my favorite part. My favorite part was having the clients that we already had that were there and seeing their buy-in and commitment to what they've already purchased.
Yeah.
So a lot of you, like, have you ever bought a gym membership and you're feeling really good and then you fall off? That's normal. But usually an event happens that makes you say, I'm back in. I'm back in. I'm all in. Maybe it's like Christmas coming up or your birthday and you're like, I'm recommitted. It's almost like a recommitment ceremony. And the way that they were just like, oh, this, like, I'm all in. I'm going home. I'm going to do this. And if that event helps them win even more, it's worth it. It's worth $200,000 if they never buy a single thing. If nothing comes of it, they win more. It was worth it for me.
$2 million.
That was huge.
Huge.
Okay. What are we going to do the same next year, and what are we going to do different next year? What do you think?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
from a business perspective. Same. Let's do it the same. What is for sure? No questions asked. Rinse and repeat. The same.
Rinse and repeat. If someone's in the room, just give me an amen. Retweet, please, please, please. We are going to have an MC, and her name is Erin Cole.
Did y'all like Erin who were there?
Oh my gosh.
She was amazing, was she not? Oh my gosh.
And the reason I'm so appreciative of her, we knew she was great from going to another mastermind event with Myron. He had her. And what's interesting is we almost just like chose a random person from our community who was not a professional. And then we saw her as like, oh, thank God they exist.
Yeah.
10 times more than I ever could expect. Absolutely can't imagine hosting an event without a professional MC, specifically Erin.
And in case you don't know, and even if you have virtual sales events, even if you have, like, I'm even thinking of real estate, like, let's say you have a little event that you're having people come to, even to have someone to set the tone in any capacity that is not you is valuable. And I'll tell you why. I kind of have come to this belief that you want it to feel like there's just a little barrier before you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not that accessible. You gotta buy if you're gonna get up in here. And an MC and someone who sets the tone and creates the energy, they just are kind of like introducing you. And in fact, in Toastmasters, which is a public speaking club, highly recommend. There's some all over here locally, but you always have someone introduce you. Always. Always. And when you come in for a speech, you have to say, hey, will you introduce me?
I'm surprised we didn't do this sooner, now that you say it like that.
Always. And even Lloyd, whenever we would do in person, he would always open up and he would say, I need you to introduce me. He never just got on stage. And I'm like, well, who's going to introduce me? I'm just kidding. But it was always the standard. If someone introduces you, always. So that's not that's just like a principle. But the professional MC, what Erin was able to do was actually not just lead the event, but she created assets for the event. What do I mean by that? She created like content. Oh, she wrote a poem. Hello, did y'all like that poem or what? She wrote a poem. She had a speech. She had a message. She had like a dance that kept people moving. And what do I mean by asset? If you think about an asset like a piece of real estate, that's something that you use again and again and again and again, and it's valuable for you again. Like what she created from an outsider perspective is something that we will use forever and ever until the end of time. That is an asset. And so she was definitely not an inexpensive, situation for the event, but the assets made it so incredibly worth it, and most MCs can't do that. Another thing that's important for a buying environment is that people are moving, clapping their hands, standing up, moving around. We want like movement. Emotion is movement. And when Erin had Kat and I dancing at this mastermind event, I'm not really a dancer. I feel like
no.
I'll
do the Salesgirl shimmy, but
we're having so much fun. And I'm like, okay, if she can get us to move, she can get anybody to move. And I know how important it is to get movement going.
Yep.
So we said, she made it so comfortable, so fun. I said, period, where's the dotted line? That is a professional MC. And what's cool is she was able to create these assets with like maybe 1 or 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm not sitting on the phone. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting on the phone. I need someone else to figure it out and show me what you got, and she done did it. So, Erin, we'll get you our dates for our next event. Do not get booked before we tell you our dates.
Another thing that was amazing was on day 1, the platinum ticket holders, we did a special lunch with them, and it was a coaching lunch. So whatever questions they had from either what's been bothering them, what's been keeping them stuck, or what happened during the content that morning, they got to ask questions. It was so good.
Blew my mind. I was not sure about that. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting about people that buy the highest level is they're just more bought in general. And so they come with higher level questions, higher level, like they are really there to prove that they made a good decision. You know what I'm saying? And so they want to ask good questions to get the results to prove they made a good decision. So it's just always good to get those type of people together because they vibe with each other so much, and it's just an amazing experience for everybody.
And huge bonus is that when you're hosting any type of content event, challenge, or anything, to be able to touch base with your people, like think about it. The morning happened. We had lunch with them, coaching, and got to hear where their brain was at. So that informed the rest of day 1, day 2, and it just unfolded. Oh, like here's where they're at. They're actually more advanced. They actually have this thought, not that thought. And it's just so cool because when you have a sales messaging framework, you can start to just go with the nuances, which was really fun.
It's really good. Well, definitely, I know we'll have some sort of live music again. We had a cello. Did y'all like the cello? It was so powerful, right? We had a cello with the poem combined, and I was so moved by, I almost always am moved by live music, but I asked Ina, who did the cello, I said, why does that just make you so emotional? And she said, music is one of the only things that reaches the limbic part of the brain, which is that emotional part of the brain. And what's amazing about sales is you want to communicate to that limbic part of the brain. So when you have a sales environment, you want to have the right music. Of course, you can like play music. Like when y'all walked in here, I was like, make sure we get some music on because it just gets the rhythm, get the movement going. But the live music is a game changer.
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
Yeah. You got anything else?
And I knew that poem had to be heard again. I have gone to church so many times where there's like some beautiful thing. I'm like, I just wish I could hear it again. And it was just such a cool, like they heard it, like, hey, there may be a way you could like, be this sales girl, but then to be reminded at the end, hey,
so good.
Don't forget, this is who you are. Loved
so
it.
Good.
We had videographers Sam, oh my gosh. It's one thing to follow people around with your phone. It's another to have a team of people who know how to capture event content. They know, our dream, you see people like following you around and catching the conversations. That would be like our next step is catching the conversations that happen in the hallway, because that was easily a top experience for me, was talking to everyone who, we'd meet before the bathroom and stuff. But just having those assets, reminding everyone of what happened, and like, this is proof, like this brand is real, this experience was real. I know, every time I see it, I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that happened.
Yeah, it's so
and someone filmed it.
So worth it. Okay, what would we change?
We started with virtual. You mentioned that.
Yeah, I will never do virtual. I will.
So
I hate it.
So
I hate virtual.
Like we could sit here for an hour and play devil's advocate, but I will tell you, I had Carl, my husband, and Ruby there, my, at the time, 10-week-old. And so I'm nursing her like every 3 hours, right? And I didn't want to miss a thing. I had to, I would pull up the Zoom link and just be walking around.
Yeah.
And there was a couple messages, but one in particular, it was when Myron was there. It was like my last meeting, it's the last day. And it like cut out like right at the punchline. Same thing happened to you.
Oh,
and the whole chat was like, wait. People are still following up to be like, what did Macy say? And it's hard to respond to those because I'm like, I don't remember what she said, but I just know it was good. And that happened to me just being a room away.
Wow.
Right. So I'm just like nursing, and I didn't even pick up the punchline.
Right.
And no one. Myron's not gonna remember the punchline. He can barely remember.
Yeah.
He's just in flow, and so are you, right? So that.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much essence in the room. And so not only is the essence not translated, but even like the message, And so until technology can be like just a whole.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is we really needed all hands on deck, and it just required hands like really focused on that, and there was nothing that they could do, and I'm just like,
right, because when there's like 50 people who are upset that something happened, and a team member has to be completely taken away,
and we needed her for lots of different things, but so it's just we tried, we came, we saw, now we know. Now we know.
Let's talk about time of year.
Oh yeah.
So it was in June. And someone said, I think, like, how did y'all choose the time of year? Okay, well, here's the deep story. It was June last year when we booked it, and we said, well, a year feels pretty good. Let's do it next year.
Yeah.
What's available?
Yeah.
It wasn't that deep, right?
No.
Okay.
No, it was not.
And we try to think about holidays. We've been in this game long enough where you don't want to be too close to a holiday. It was after school let out,
Yeah.
But you can't plan around everyone's little thing. So you just do your best.
Yeah.
And it was okay.
Yeah,
but
so we'll do it in the winter-ish time next year. And another thing that will change is have a much longer runway to sell.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening, and I actually recommend this, is to decide and book and then figure it out later, especially when you're just getting started. But the problem is so many things changed up until the very end that we had a very short runway to really pick up the selling. Now that we know what it's going to be like, we know the mission, we know the vision, we kind of can get an idea of the message, we can start selling and have these kind of
like sales events,
and milestones and points and games and all these cool things that we can do to sell the event for a much longer runway, and announce speakers earlier, and just there's so many things that can be done earlier.
I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but we had a Q4 meeting, end of last year, and one of our Q4 goals was to have Summit sold out before the end of the year.
What were we thinking?
Let's get it over with. We can do it. We can do anything. And it turned out to be like the opposite. We were like, well, we're just going to do challenges, and then like I guess we'll start selling via paid ads like May 1st. Oof. And it just, it's a whole thing, but there's strategy of planning the strategy and then planning the operations, and turns out two different things. Yeah. But it worked out.
And this kind of goes, someone had a question about the hiring. They were like, did you have an event planner? Did you assign activities? How did you rally the team? How did you structure each day? How did you manage everybody? And here's kind of what I'm going to say about that. This is an entrepreneurial company. What does that mean? That means nobody knows what they're doing. No, y'all, they don't know. We certainly don't know. We know the result and we figure it out. And so that's what's really cool about an entrepreneurial team is we have something called tackles, which is the ultimate result. And then everybody figures it out. And if you have questions, raise a hand and we'll try to help you. But honestly, we're figuring it out right alongside with you. We did have an event planner to kind of come and help during the day, but it really wasn't needed what we found. We actually had a lot of hands just in the wrong places. So we had a lot of hands in the like pointing, like you do this, you do this, you do this, and not a lot of muscles to actually do the lifting. And so we're going to get some men up in there much earlier. And we needed way more muscles and less pointers. But we do need pointers as well. So we definitely saw the ratio there. And there were so many hiccups and mess ups, and it was part of the plot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's all good. It's all good. There were so many changes up until the last minute. I'm texting Erin the night before, the morning of, let's change this. Let's change this flow.
Yeah.
And I asked Erin, I was like, is this normal for every event? She goes, every company, every arena, she's a ministry, nonprofit, raising money, big events, everyone is changing things to the very last second.
So crazy.
And when you can just know that that's what you're walking into and that is cost of admission if you're going to do an event, and just to plan for it and be excited about it, it makes it not a problem. The problem is when you make it a problem.
I can't wait. One of my favorite moments is something that we changed, so I'm excited to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
This will change someone's life if they do an event, okay? One of our friends, Bill the pilot, who flew us on his plane after knowing us for 2 minutes, it was a few weeks before the event, and he's like, hey, do y'all like need any help? How's it going? Would you like to get on a call? I said, yes, we'd like to get on a call, because he does events. He's like, I highly recommend you do get on this call. And on the call, he said, you really need to think of live events as high ticket offers. But it's only like $500.
Yeah.
But. It's like, no. The cost for the person is time away from their family. It's the tickets, it's the hotel, it's the food. They're factoring in all these things. So you better think of it like that, double. Whatever they're thinking, like double that, and then sell it as if it's that. So sell a $500 ticket like it's a $10,000 thing.
Yeah.
That thought came a little late for us.
But game changer.
Game changing.
Yeah.
Just the mindset and the respect, like honoring the room really with that thought was so helpful. And I know that the people in the room respected their decision to be there because, they made a high ticket decision.
That's right.
Just to be in the room. Loved
That's
it.
right.
Love the
That's
feeling.
Huge.
Maybe one day we'll do a hotel too.
Yeah, that is something that I would love to do. Do you guys know that a hotel is expensive? Did y'all know that? We years ago got pricing from a hotel, and they were like, you have to do coffee, you have to do food, you have to like do all these things. They were trying to charge like $50 for a brownie per person. And they're like, this is the only option. I'm like, what? So we did it at something called Phase Center, which if you're local, and a really good place to have an event. It's so cost effective. Like a hotel will charge just for one screen. It's like
with no team.
With no team, and it's like you have to buy it from them.
And it's $10,000.
Yeah, it's like a screen, and with Phase, it's like all the tech, and the stage is beautiful, and the like
LED.
You can buy the staff, and they do a really good, pretty good job, and it was great. And I also see the value in the convenience of a hotel. To pop up and to pop down without getting in the car, I see it. So our goal is to work our way towards a hotel and to be able to fill the room so that it's worth it.
Can't wait.
Yeah, our time is coming for
Plot
that.
is thick and
Plot
good.
is thick. Have you thought about doing a hotel? You're nodding your head. I see you. Okay.
Oh, girl, come on.
Oh, we have an event planner in
For
the
corporate
room.
or for personal or?
Okay, Taish.
Amazing.
We're about to talk.
Oh, wow. I can't wait to meet
We're about
you.
to talk in more ways than one. It is no joke. And in fact, an event planner that I've met before, she said one of the things in her offer is negotiating with hotels. And I was like, that alone, I was like, shoot.
Yeah, you got to be able to read a contract, don't you?
You got to be able to read a contract.
Ooh, come on.
She says she just saved her client.
Come on.
$10,000.
Amazing.
Yeah, you need. Okay, you really need. You need an expert in the event planning space for sure.
Yep.
That's what I've learned. No
Speaking
question
of plan, the next question was how did you plan and decide the structure for each day?
Oh yeah,
And I am
this was critical.
so passionate about this.
Yeah, pop off.
The run of show was always living in the back of my head. And even before I would practice my talk or tease it out, whatever I was doing, because I had one job after Ruby was born, and that was be ready for Summit.
Yeah.
Do you be ready, be ready, be ready. So I'm like, okay, how do I be ready? I think about what I'm going to say, when I'm going to say it. And let me just tell you, sales girls, when you say something matters. So I would look at the run of show and be like, what comes before me? Who comes after me? How do I tee them up? How do I make my point? How do I prime them for day 2? How do I just lay the foundation for something that Macy can then, you know,
Slam
like,
dunk.
yeah, like it is, whether you're the only speaker, you have a team of speakers, like that's why we prepped our speakers in a certain way so that I knew I'm priming them. I know I'm driving home the point that Macy did not have time to, and vice versa. Because one of my favorite memories, just always, is when I step off stage and she says, "You set me up so well." My favorite words ever. Because then I know I sold well. I sold a belief. I sold a thought that got them over the bridge just a little bit, so that they could go all the way with the next speaker. I don't care if it's me, because we don't care who makes this. What is that? We don't care who makes the
We don't
basket.
care who scores. We just want to win.
Just want to win. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you watching while you were nursing Ruby, I also watched the Zoom link for no other reason but to fit inside whatever frame, because you would go first. So whatever frame you made, I would make sure to emphasize certain points to fit in what you've done. So that's sales girl things, or that's ninja things right there, to be able to weave in and out of what other frame someone has done for you, and whether you're kind of that fit perfectly or not, you want to make sure it does fit.
100%.
And I know Myron, like he doesn't even plan for his speeches. He says, I come in the room and I see what framing has already been made so that I know how to like enter in. And that's
ninja things.
This is ninja things for sure, which we're about to teach our inner circle today.
Amen. Amen. So just one like note that you can make, maybe it's somewhere that you can just see it often, is that content in this way, it's like an organism. It's a living organism, not some static
Dull
thing that never changes. So for you to be able to live with it and go with the nuances and the energy is so important.
Man, so
I'm really
huge.
thankful for the way it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, May.
Personal favorite things.
Yeah, your personal favorite things. What moments were the most emotional for you that you will remember forever? Was a question.
I didn't write this down. Because we look at each other's stuff. But one thing that I was on a mission to make happen was to make sure Myron was sitting in the crowd when you were speaking. I was like, I don't care where he is.
You did. That was
at
really
any
sweet.
times, I said that he is sitting here when you were speaking. Because he had seen me speak, and it was really important for me to him watch you and see how good you are. Your final message at Summit was one of the best I've ever heard, and it was the best I've ever seen you.
Wow.
And so to watch our coach see you in that element, in our environment, and then to end with the cello and the poem and that whole ending was like, oh my gosh, like this is a thing. Like it's not a thing, it's a thing. And it was just so cool. I walked Myron out, and he was like, y'all got it going on. Y'all got it going on. And I'm like, oh, I know Myron. And that was just the coolest moment, to watch him watch you and solidify what we've always known that's inside of us. And we've been just always trying to like bring it out and bring it out and bring it out. And that was the moment I was like, it's out.
That's
like
awesome.
It is out. And I would get texts from people from my life like decades ago, and they would say, oh, so-and-so I know is at your event, and someone said the word is out and the word is good.
Wow.
And I haven't spoken to her in 10 years at least.
Wow.
I didn't even have her phone number. She's like, by the way, this is so-and-so. I'm like, wow, for someone to go out of their way to say
The word is out and the word is good.
The word is out, the word is good. And I'm like, man,
Holy cow.
it wasn't anything other than those few moments that I was like, man, this is worth it, and it's good, and I'm proud of us.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much. So sweet.
It's true.
Moments are so interesting because they're fast, and so it's like the most emotional moments. It's like, okay, every moment was like so good. Can we just like, yes, it was like so good. But day one, you're nervous. It's like, oh, I hope this goes well, especially tech. We've played a lot of videos in our day.
Yeah.
That like the first few seconds aren't there's like no
Working.
volume, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's
An ad pops up.
yes, like something ruins the movie, and like the video that was supposed to prove a point, and the opener to Summit was look at this beauty, and I just have chills. Like I'm pretty sure it was like flawless, and we actually thought we were gonna have a screen in the back, and we didn't.
Yeah.
And so we ended up just opening the door, and it was the best part.
Yeah.
Because we got to watch your faces, and we got to watch your face in the screen, your face screen. So me and Macy were like little like stooges like coming out, and there's just like these few moments like looking at each other like before the thing basically started, just like with tears in our eyes, like let's freaking go. Like that was just really memorable for me.
Really good.
Everything good was like at one time, because I love the poem, I love you, I love the people, I love the environment. It was just like this art form.
Yeah.
So good.
It was amazing. So yeah, if you're gonna do an event, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Wait, we have one more question.
And you'll meet yourself.
And this is kind of like cheating. It kind of sounds like the same question, but I had different answers. What was your favorite part of the entire summit? So not emotional moment, but like favorite part of the whole thing, if you can have a different answer.
Man, what's yours?
Well, I cheated and I had a bunch. But I think I have it, okay? And watching the crowd dance to Diva, like it was caught on video, thankfully. Trey was there. Aaron's husband and baby were out in the hall. Me and Carl were out in the hall.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so we're looking through the window, and it had to have been the first time everyone was dancing to Diva, first or second. And like the men were like, what's happening? Like, and like, all three of us were just like dancing together with her little girl. And it was like, he was proud of Aaron, I was proud of them, Carl was proud of us. Like there's just this like moment of like, everyone's like getting it. Like we all get it. And I think for us to have this tangible thing, like, okay, everyone feels it.
That's so cool.
And I actually asked Carl, what was your favorite part? He's like, why do you ask? And I said, because I have to answer it, so you have to answer it.
Yeah.
And he said, it just was right. Like that was his
So
favorite
cool.
part, if that counts.
Yeah.
So
I think, you saying you resonate with like being a mom and you love to work, but you're feeling pulled. Like, how am I supposed, like, is there a universe in which you can do this and that you can like make it all work? And it was just a haven in a world in which we all see each other.
yes.
We're safe here. Like, you're good, you're doing your thing, I'm so proud of you, I'm cheering you on, and then we go into our subworld knowing that our people are behind us.
Huge.
And the way we would fight for those girlies, and everyone would fight for each other. If anyone comes for us, I got your back. Like that feeling. Someone just posted an Instagram story of how they were meeting for breakfast, and they had just met at Salesgirl Summit, and they were having breakfast together. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about right there, because that connection is it's just critical to keep going and to stay in the game for the long term, as we've talked about earlier today. So do an event. I say this all the time. You'll meet yourself. Yep. You will look at yourself in the eye and be like, I'm about to see what you're made of, for better or for worse, because the chips are in. And it's the best thing you'll ever do. It's one of the harder things you ever do. It's a risk you're going to take, and it might pay off and it might not. And the whole experience is totally worth it. And we'll be announcing our next Salesgirl Summit event very soon here. And we'll probably do something fun to go ahead and sell tickets.
We thought we'd never do it again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Day one, I said, Kat, this is our one and done. 100%. I'm out. By day two, I'm like, girl, what's the next one going to be? This is so fun. It's so worth it.
Yeah, we're in the event business now.
We'll come watch this when it's hard.
When we're 80.
When we're 80 and probably next year.
And when it's hard. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one.